What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Triple B's coming at you, aka Shane Bailey, and today we're going to talk about how to get into the construction industry as a whole, how to become a licensed general contractor so you can build homes, and then what do you do? How do you build your construction business once you become licensed? So, before we get into it, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button, hit the bell for notifications so you know when those videos are coming out. Make sure you like the video and comment below for me. I always appreciate the comments. I read them all, and I always look forward to the feedback, suggestions for more videos, yada yada. So make sure you guys do all of those things. And if you haven't already, make sure you go follow me on Instagram at Shane Bailey Builder. I'm there for you there as well. Lots of cool information. Follow along with my life. You know, what the heck. So without further ado, let's cue that music and get started. Okay, so you want to be a general contractor. So let's start with what is a general contractor, okay? And what the role of the general contractor really is in construction. So a GC, or general contractor, is the primary person responsible for overseeing a construction project and the primary contact to the client and or owner of the project itself, okay? So whether that's a one-person GC such as myself, that's how I operate, or giant commercial companies such as Saunders that are deemed the general contractor, and they basically run the entire project, and they are going to be, in some facets, somebody there in that company is going to be the contact for that project itself, okay? So you're the boss in a sense of the construction project every time. Every municipality that I've ever run into requires licensure, okay? Now, there are some municipalities, state to state, that do not require a general contractor to be licensed. I would hesitate, and I also am an advocate of the municipalities that are not requiring this yet to push for licensure, because if you're not licensed and you haven't taken your ICCC test, which we'll get into, then my concern of knowledge becomes a greater awareness and problem that I've actually seen, and I've had colleagues show me issues because of this non-requirement for licensure. It just basically means the people that want to kind of get into construction and they're not being forced to be licensed or not required to be licensed, they're going out and building homes, and you're seeing the fallout and the issues from that. And that is probably the biggest problem I've come across with relation to not having licensure requirements. So almost everywhere across the country, you're required to be licensed as the general contractor for obvious reasons. That licensure comes with many moving parts. Before you get started and head down this road, you want to make sure, depending on the state, that you understand the licensure requirements, because that is different from taking your ICCC test, which is the International Code Council, okay? And passing that test. You still have to go get licensed in every municipality that you're going to be working in. Now, here's the catch with that. As I said just a minute ago, every state has different licensure requirements for being a general contractor. Meaning, here in Colorado, where I'm at, we have to be licensed in each municipality or building department. So Denver requires a separate license than Boulder. Boulder requires a separate license than Longmont. It's almost always the same requirements. However, we have to pay for it to be licensed in all of those counties, cities, towns, etc. That's not the case, say, in California, where they have one overall state licensure requirement for a general contractor, meaning you present your test after you pass the ICCC test and hand it over to the state of California, pay your fee, they stamp it, you're licensed throughout the entire state. Not the case here in Colorado. So before you get started, like I said, down the road, find out licensure requirements in your state, whether it's statewide or municipality to municipality, building department to building department, and make sure you understand what you're getting into, because it can get really hard to keep track of if your intrastate licensure is all over the place like mine is, and it can get pretty expensive. You only need to be licensed in the places you're going to be working. So if it's not a statewide license, then just pay for the licenses or just get licensed in the areas you're going to be taking work. Okay, so just keep that in mind. That's what I do. If I choose to take on more work further away from my little bubble range, then I'll just go ahead and get a license in that area. A lot of them are reciprocal. For instance, the city of Denver requirement is the hardest one in the state to get because they require the most experience along with the ICC test. And if you're licensed in the city of Denver, then a lot of other municipalities will just take that license with your fee and give you a license within their county or municipality. So again, keep that in mind. Getting into the ICC testing, you want to go to the ICC website right here, okay? And you want to read through all the requirements for taking the general contractor test. It's a 4-hour test for the Class C license, which is the residential license for 1 and 2 family dwellings, okay? There are 3 classes of general contractor, A, B, C, okay? Every distinction is different. Class A license is the top general contractor license, allowing you to build anything you want commercially or residentially within whatever municipality or state that you're in. So you can build a 400-story skyscraper if you want. Obviously, that's going to come with having to have more experience requirements in order to take that test. So check again on the ICC website and make sure that you know what license and what test you're able to be taking, along with everything else that's going to happen with licensure at that point, okay? So like I said, Class C is the lowest requirement as far as experience, B, and then A. Read through those requirements, make sure you have all that in place before you go and apply for the test at a testing center and pay your fee. You got to make sure you're set up to take that test first. Okay, so that being said, we're going to move on to the roles of a general contractor and what it takes to be one. Okay, so if you're working in the construction industry, which I highly, highly recommend before you go and get licensed, you need to have experience not only working with different trades and watching structures be built, but understanding every single piece of the puzzle when it comes to construction itself. First thing I suggest when people ask me, how do I become a general contractor? Go get a job working for one, because you're going to need that experience anyway as a requirement in order to get your license down the road. We're talking anywhere from a minimum of 2 years all the way up to 7 or 10 years, depending on what license you're going after and what state you work in. The ICC requirements are one thing to take the test as far as experience goes, but you want to make sure that you also have the experience on the other end, so when you pass your test, you can go and get licensed in those states or municipalities based on that experience. The longer you work for somebody else, the more experience you have. Obviously, that helps you out. But in anything that I tell people to do across running a business in any industry is, you want to make sure if you're the owner of that business that you can do every single piece of that business by yourself. Because if you can't, then you can't run the business and train people to run certain aspects and specialties of that business. And worst case scenario, if that business was to fail for some reason or get down and get squeezed in a bad market, you have to be able to downsize to the point where you can stay operational, keep the doors open, so to speak, and be able to run all those tasks, anywhere from accounting, invoicing, literally putting on your tool belt and being able to frame a wall or pull line for electrical. You have to know how to do those things in any business, not just construction, because there's no way you can understand what you're doing and run trades and manage projects if you don't know what you're looking at and don't know how to proceed with every step of that construction project, okay? So the first thing you should do, go get a job with a general contractor or builder, get experience, get hands-on learning with that person, and work for several years, and make sure, again, you have the requirements, minimum requirements for experience. Work as long as you can to build that experience. Start out as early as you can as well. And in the meantime, you want to make sure that you're studying this book right here. okay? This is the IRC code book, International Residential Code. Look at how thick that is, okay? Every 3 years, a new one is made. This is the newest one, 2018. We are expecting the 2021 to come out at the end of the year, and every zoning building department requires a different minimum code for the book. That being said, i.e., it'll tell you what code they're running on. Is it 2018, 2015, 2012, whatever it is? You got to know when you're submitting plans what year you're using. Always have the newest code book out because you want to stay up to date on all the codes. Now, here's the thing. You're not expected to have this entire thing memorized, okay? Every single trade, every code for every trade is in this book, okay? Anywhere from all the generals, carpentry, structural, roof, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, all that fun stuff is all in this book. You don't have to know everything, and you certainly don't have to know everything memorized in this book to take the test because the test is open book. But what they're truly testing you on and what you need to be able to reference quickly is understanding how to use this book. That's why I have so many tabs. Okay, I gotta go ahead and grab sections of a book if I need to check something that's been updated, or if we're running into an issue on a remodel. I gotta figure out exactly what we can use for code and what's not gonna work and what we're gonna have to change or adapt to depending on the project. New construction, you gotta know, like I said, what building department is requiring what, and you have to run off those codes. But you have to be very proficient in understanding how to get through this book and where to look for information. A lot of the stuff is going to stick as you work through with a general contractor and a home builder. And you're going to learn a lot of this. It's going to stick up here. But obviously, you're not going to memorize this entire book unless you have a photographic memory and you read it front to back. So most of us got to have this in the truck at all times. Certainly have to bring it to the test. You only have 4 hours for it, for the Class C license. So you got to make sure that you can get through this book and reference it quickly, because 4 hours may sound like a long time, but it's not when you're taking the test. Study this book, know as much as you can, but more importantly, know how to use it, okay? Okay, so many people ask me as they're kind of playing around with the idea of getting into this industry, or if they're in the industry, moving up in it and becoming a general contractor, what is it like to be one? What's it like to be a GC? The misnomer here, and I've definitely seen this with homeowners and friends in the past that have tried to GC their own project, they're realizing it's way more complicated than it seems. Most people think I just show up at a job site, I line up my subs, hand them a set of plans, and I'm off to go ride my mountain bike, play golf, or whatever, and I just check in with them on the phone once in a while. That is not even close to the case. And the homeowners that are out there, or even some of the carpenters I know that have kind of trying to run their own or PM their own projects, have come to realize, not even close, is it? That's not what a GC does, okay? Especially good ones. You have to wear a lot of these, okay? We're wearing so many hats every day and solving lots of problems. It's not just babysitting a bunch of subs. It's understanding and staying ahead of the project as proficiently as possible. You have to make sure you not only can make sure that people show up on time and they're getting started, but you also have to be able to, one, read plans and blueprints, manage people and be a people person. You got to make sure that you keep a level head when things get out of control. You've got to solve problems as they come up. And in order to solve problems on a job site, you have to be proficient in all of those different trades, like I was saying before. That's not to say that you're an expert in electrical and mechanical and plumbing and roofing and all that, but you have to be proficient enough to understand how those go together within a project, because you're going to be the one everyone's looking to when things come up or there's a question. You have to have the entire job in your head before you start, okay? You got to play the role of accountant. You got to play the role of financial advisor when you're with a client and they're thinking about changing their mind or adding something, which means a change order. And is it a good idea to do that? Sometimes you're playing the role of attorney because you have to decipher the contract that you've provided to them, hopefully written originally by an attorney that you've paid to do it. But you have to be able to decipher those things. And I wish some days I could just show up and say, hey, how's everybody doing this morning? make sure you grab some food. I'm out the door. You guys got it. Here's the plans. It doesn't work that way. You are constantly overseeing every moving part of that project. And if you think about it or equate it to you guys that are out there that have jobs now that think that your boss is just sitting in an office twiddling his thumbs or watching YouTube videos, how does a company operate? Well, that's exactly what this is on a micro scale, okay? The top of the company is the GC, and they're basically pushing everything out to experts in every field and making sure that they're getting their job done right. But you have to understand what their job is to begin with in order to understand if they're doing it correctly, right? You're the one that answers to the inspectors when they show up and there's issues or there's things that you need to change, or basically to make sure that you're going to be ready for inspection. You have to have all of those tools in order to be successful in this industry. It's not easy. If people are telling you once you get to this point that all you have to do is sit in a chair and make a couple phone calls every day and show up at the end of the day to make sure everybody's locked up or they've got their stuff out of there and you're smiling at the client, it's not the case. And if that's what you think it is, don't get into this industry. You are going to pull your hair out. I'm not going to lie to you. It is very, very difficult, okay? If you're doing it right, it's hard, it's stressful. And as we get into kind of the realm of structure for salary and pay, there's two ways you can go, all right? And we'll discuss kind of the two options as you build a career as a general contractor. So let's do that next. Okay, so let's talk about the two ways you can use your license once you've passed your ICCC test and the direction you can go with your career. Side A, we'll call it over here, is go work for a big builder. Whether it's commercial or residential, you can go get hired on with a bigger firm or builder and work as a high up PM or supervisor within their company. Here are all the pros with that. You show up to work every day. They're going to take care of all the bookkeeping, all the staff, all of the high-end stress that you don't have to worry about if you're running your own company, okay? You get paid a salary, you know your duties, and then you have your day-to-day stuff just like any GC or PM would have on the project. And you have to still run through those and diversify and push out to all the trades and make sure, again, you're understanding what their job is and they're doing it correctly. But you're not dealing with all the administrative high-end stressful stuff that you would with side B over here. Side B is you start your own company, your own construction company, and you are at the very tippy top of all of it, right? So you're going to be not only the owner of the company, you're going to be the licensed general contractor. Most days you're going to be the project manager. You're also going to be the accountant, right? You're going to be a lot of times the janitor at the end of the day. People want to say sometimes you want to be a babysitter. If you're doing it right and you've worked your way through hiring good trades and keeping them, along with employees if you get to that point, you're not babysitting them. You're their boss, you're their manager, and everyone needs guidance. So you have to be a leader, right? If you're not a good leader, this job is not for you. Or if you don't want to be the leader, this job is not for you. That's exactly what this becomes in the end, okay? But you're going to have so many hats and so many things going on every day. It's a very, very, very busy industry when it comes to running projects, even if just one at a time. If you can handle all of that and you are a good planner, you are good with organization, you are good with people, and you like to get dirty, because listen, if you're doing it right, you're going to get dirty, whether you're all the way at the top and your company's now spread out and you have employees and a great group of trades, you're still working in construction. So you have to be able to handle all of the nonsense that comes with that, the noise, the dirt, the disorganization of other people, because you're working with trades that are also running their own businesses and they may run them a lot differently than you. But when they come onto your job site, it is your job to instantly direct them into, this is our bubble of how things operate under XYZ construction company, okay? You got to be firm, you got to be direct, you can't be wishy-washy, and you got to make sure, just like you're raising kids or training a dog, and I know that kind of sounds terrible, set the boundaries early, because if you don't, you're going to lose people. They're going to get complacent in some way, whether it's consciously or subconsciously, and you're going to have projects that run amok because they don't have boundaries in which, or parameters in which to stay in, understanding how you operate your jobs, okay? You have to make sure that you have all those hats and you're willing to wear them all, even all of them on the same day. All right, guys, so let's kind of summarize everything that is required and what it takes to become a licensed general contractor. In the end, this job can be very, very rewarding. If you like to see things start from literally inception on a piece of paper all the way up to something physical you can touch, walk through, and showcase, whether it's commercial or residential, then this is definitely something you should consider doing, especially if you're already in some sort of trade, okay? Learning all the other stuff is really, really fun. I always encourage education all through life, and this is one of those jobs where you're going to be constantly learning, constantly challenged, constantly gaining information in order to be successful. And it's a very rewarding, like I said, it's a very rewarding profession to be in if you kind of like that kind of movement. It does take a lot of hours in the day. It can strain a household at times, so keep that in mind. The earlier you start in this profession, I think, is better. Getting into it later in life, even if you've got experience, depending on how your family life is set up at home, it's going to be pretty straining. It's a lot of hours in a day. However, that being said, there is the ability to make lots of money and have lots of fun. You get to meet lots of cool people. You get to be very creative. And all of that was what dropped me into the business many, many, many years ago. And that's why I'm still in it today. Lots of things come from that as far as like outside kind of side businesses. If you want to go that direction, I've certainly spun off into other things as well, using my experience, my knowledge, my license, and it's been a great run. I'll be honest, as hard as it's been, as many hairs as I've pulled out, I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world, and that's why I continue to be passionate about the building industry itself. So finally, if you're going to get in this business, go find a job with a builder tomorrow if you haven't already. If you're already in it, run with that person, get as much experience as possible. In the meantime, start studying that IRC book. Go click on this link for the ICCC website, which is right here. I'll also leave that link in the description below. Read up on all the requirements that you're going to need to take your test and whatever level you're taking, okay? Take your test. Make sure you push up your role as a supervisor if you have that opportunity within your current job. And if not, when you're starting out, work your way into that role. And take the test when you're ready. Don't take it before then. Understand that book as much as possible, okay? Learn the trades, become adept at all the building trades themselves. Even some of the stuff you think you may not like, you got to be proficient on some level. It's not only going to help you pass that test, it's also going to help you become a really good general contractor. So, with that being said, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, like the video, leave comments and questions down below. I love reading those things, especially with this one. I'm sure there's going to be some questions and comments. Check out our other videos on building itself. I've got the how-to build series. I've got the mountain bike series now that started. I've got real estate stuff in there, which you can actually use your general contractor license for as well. If you're in both industries, they're a good mesh. I appreciate all the support, and make sure you check out the other videos. Till next time, guys, Triple B's out.